Fans of Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me for a brief little how-to video. And once again, we have some battle damage to repair. Last night I played the latest instalment of the narrative campaign I've been doing with my mate, and well, there were a couple of casualties, so I thought we'd do a little bit of repair work, and also I'll give you a little bit of a fill-in on what happened in the game. So, what happened? So we'll start with the easy thing. So here we have a Thallax combat cyborg. I love the Thallax. Of course, these guys were the first ever Mechanica models that Forge World did. And they're very good. They're supremely posable, and there's something very menacing about that expressionless helmet that they have, which is the intention. So anyway, what happened to this chap? Well, the Thallax have got these nice little thrusters on the back, because of course he's jetpack troops, and at one point of the game, just as this guy and his squad were lining up for a volley of lightning gun fire into the rear of a Leman Russ, this chap made a bid for freedom and was successful, and managed to land on the floor at velocity. And I had a moment of terror where I was expecting a shower of Thallax parts, but as you see, he got off pretty lightly, and the only thing that broke was this thruster bottle. So we're just going to stick that back on. So I'm going to use a little bit of a higher viscosity super glue to see if I can get a slightly stronger bond this time. A little bit more, probably a little bit more adhesive than I want there, so I'll just take a little bit of that away. And then just need to find its original location. That's it. So the game I played last night was 2,300 points, and it pitted the Solar Auxilia, so that I was playing the Solar Auxilia. It pitted the Solar Auxilia against a militia list. There we go. So it was quite a large game. My force was comprised of the 3 Dracosans with Velatari Storm sections, a Malcador heavy tank with a tank commander, a Lord Marshal with his tactical command section, 3 Las Rifle sections, and 2 units of 4 Thallax. Oh, and they also had an Engine Seer squad as well. So yeah, it's quite a big game. And against that, he had arrayed 3 Leman Russes, a Sentinel squadron, and a huge number of low quality, because it turned out surprisingly hard to fight troops. So casualty number 2. So this is the Forge World Cyber School model. I use these when I play Mechanica, my opponents fear the heck out of these little guys. So I use these as cyber oculari, and you Mechanicum players and victims of Mechanicum players will know what it's like fighting a Jinskeen targeting web. But no, this guy was just on for giggles as a cyber familiar in this battle, and unfortunately, just due to handling, I lost this little attachment thing, which is approximately positioned where the vertebral column would have connected to the base of a skull of this little chap. So this is a nice fiddler repair, so we're going to go for a bit of drilling. I'm going to try drill out the column, and then using a very fine bit of springy steel wire, I'm going to try and fix that. So let's have a go at this. So this is a fiddly little one, but perhaps even more fiddlier than some of the other ones. Right, so let's get started on this. So I've got my little favourite pin vise here, a fine little drill. Just going to work an initial purchase in to start the hole, and then I'll proceed to drill deep further in for the actual pin. So the battle. So this is the third battle we'd fought. We'd fought or the fourth battle we'd fought, I think. We'd fought a meeting engagement. Then we'd fought 2 meeting engagements and two engagements where the navigator was trying to retrieve his artifact. The first was a failure, but the second, supported by the Iron Hands, was a success. We then played a 2,000 point, it was 1,800 point meeting engagement where the Iron Hands took to the field in force and completely whooped a militia manoeuvre force. So the narrative of the campaign was that the militia forces then consolidated to a fortified position. So this in the game was several Wall of Martyrs and a bastion. So quite heavily fortified. And we played the rules using a Stronghold Assault game variant. And the assaulting force this time was the Solar Auxilia. So in true Iron Hands fashion, the Iron Hands had said, well, we know where they are now. You can go make the frontal assault on this Solar Auxilia because we've got other stuff to do. So yes. So it's quite interesting in the game because the defender, so the militia, is only allowed to deploy. I think it was three choices at the start of the battle, and most of the force had to be kept in reserve. The flip side to this, of course, is that the Solar Auxilia, the attacker, had to overrun the trench line, so there was no sitting back and shooting. I had to make a frontal aggressive assault, which started very nicely. The Dracosans rolled forward and unleashed a hail of demolisher cannon fire, as did the Malcador was, the Malcador with the tank ace, the tank commander was brilliant. It was just spitting out fire left, right and centre. And by being a super heavy, it's multiple weapons system, so it had 2 sponson auto cannons, a demolisher cannon, a battle cannon and a pintle multi-laser. It could just spread its fire out around as necessary to support overall. So yes, in the first turn, all 3 of the defending missile teams went to ground and sustained a few casualties. But yeah, so it was certainly a vicious battle, and it was a very dynamic battle. There was no slow turn at all. Every single turn was packed with action, and the battle, as we moved into sort of turn 3, the Thallax assault, the Thallax were on the assault. One squad of Thallax deep striked in behind his Wall of Martyrs and proceeded to first disrupt one of his heavy weapon squads and then assault the bastion. Now the Thallax were armed with melter bombs, and this was unsurprisingly highly effective. And then the armour rolled forward, but of course then the militia reinforcement started to come forward and man the line. And the battle hotted up, and then the second group of Thallax appeared on the flank and started to manoeuvre on one of his Leman Russers. One of the Dracosans was knocked out by hail of missile launcher firing its side. All 3 Veletaris squads assaulted forward. Now, I think I played my Veletaris a bit more aggressively than I should have done, and I actually used them as I moved up and fired and charged, but his militia units had the stubborn rule, and they were high quality, and they had discipline masters. So discipline masters are kind of like, you put them in a unit, if it fails a morale check, they shoot 3 or execute D3 members of the squad, but then its morale holds. So actually, the Veletaris didn't do too well in close combat. So yes, I've learnt from that that the Veletaris are best close assault troops, not actual hand-to-hand troops, in terms of aggressive tactics. So I think that's just about done now. Drilling out the what we shall refer to as the vertebral column. How deep is that? Let's just have a look at that. Yeah, that should be plenty adequate to hold that. Right, so now I need to be careful because there's some very excuse me, some very fine detail on the top of the servo skull. So I need to be very careful with when I'm drilling this, not to damage any of that, because it will be easily damaged. Just find my bradawl to make a point. So yes, anyway, so as the battle progressed, so by now the Solar Auxilia had closed. The las rifle sections had closed into rapid fire or good positions and started laying down heavy las rifle fire on his infantry supporting the Veletaris. So that was effective, and I got a nice synergy with the tactical command section using the Cognis Signum of the Strategios to confer an extra point of ballistic skill onto a las rifle section. When you have 20 las rifle troopers and you boost their ballistic skill up a point, and then you do the double tap with the collimator to get heavy 2 shots at 36, you're spitting out 40 lasgun shots at ballistic skill 4, which is really rather nice, let me tell you. So yeah, by now the things were getting desperate for the militia. 2 of their Leman Russers had been, one of their Leman Russers was knocked out. The Thallax, after 2 turns of assaulting, reduced the bunker to rubble and killed all the occupants. And the Veletaris continued to assault. One of the Veletaris squads was wiped out in melee. The other Veletaris squad embarrassingly fought down to its last man, and that was with a turn of being helped by the Thallax as well. So yes, not the best close combat performers. And then on the final, I think about the final turn, or actually final to 1 turn, the Thallax fired a hail of lightning gun fire into the rear armour of a Leman Russ, and that was the end of that, which is ironic because 2 two Dracosans and the Malcador had only managed to do 1 glancing hit attacking its frontal armour, which just goes to show how tough our old friend the Leman Russ is. So that's pretty much the battle. I mean, his last few troops, my friend was making some astonishingly good feel no pain rolls and armour saves and cover saves, and it took a couple of turns to wipe out his remnants. But yes, the Solar getting ahead of myself there, the Solar Auxilia were victorious. They took control of the lines. Their losses, the militia force were wiped out to a man. The Solar Auxilia lost around, I'm going to put the pin in now, by the way. The Solar Auxilia lost around a full las rifle section and 2 Veletaris storm sections, so around 40 casualties in total, and then 1 Dracosan transport. And then, how many wounds did I didn't lose any Thallax, but I think I sustained 6, 7, probably around 8 wounds on the Thallax. But the Thallax are a great quality troops. As long as you keep them away from anything with medium to high AP, and particularly demolisher cannons, and don't get stuck into melee with troops that you can't overcome. The Thallax are really very effective troops and will see you well. And the deep striking combined with the ability to take melter bombs and then their lightning guns makes them excellent nutcrackers. So I think we're nearly done. So yeah, it was a really fun game. I mean, we've had an absolutely fantastic time playing this narrative campaign and using the militia list. It really feels like it's very fun. It's not. I mean, my friend's using a quite a mixture of models he's got from other sources, so it's not an optimized list, but we chose to do this because it creates a feel of a world in the Great Crusade resisting the imperial, shall I say, the imperial truth, and then having to fight a desperate battle against the supremely well trained and equipped forces of the Great Crusade. So yeah, so there's one battle left to play, and we're going to switch over to use the kill team rules for this final engagement, and this is going to represent a group of Iron Hand veteran legionaries making an attack on the enemy leader's compound to assassinate him. So yes, so I'll perhaps get a chance to talk to you about that again. And that nicely brings me to the point where this servo skull is repaired and ready for action again. Excellent. So I hope you enjoyed that little how to repair, do a bit of battle damage repairs, and an update on our little mini narrative campaign. Yes, anyway, thank you very much for watching as always. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.